Toby, thank you so much for joining us at the 2025 Bentonville Film Festival. For the viewing audience at home that have not seen the piece yet, what would you like them to know about Maintenance Artist?
This is a film about the artist in residence at the New York City Department of Sanitation. Now, that's the hook. That's the what? An artist in residence at the Department of Sanitation, but the film is much deeper. It is about the work that people do, that millions and millions of people do from day to day to keep cities, systems, homes running, maintenance work.
And when you were filming this piece, was there any impact with the COVID shutdown?
Yes, there was an impact with the COVID shutdown. Let's see, I started the film in the summer of 2017, that's 8 years ago. And we were filming, I was raising money, and then COVID hit. And Muriel, the subject of my film, is in her 80s, and she and her husband were holed up at home for, I would say, a good 2-3 years. And so I couldn't, there was nothing to film. I couldn't film her, I couldn't do interviews. I remember the last set of interviews that I did on January 31st, 2020. And then I don't think I interviewed anyone again until December of 2022. So it was about 3 years.
And with that time, I mean, of course, this piece was still on your mind, in your heart. Were you doing additional research or just thinking of other ways and other things you wanted to add? How did you use that time?
Well, definitely doing research. I mean, for me as a filmmaker, one of the fun things is the research. That's, when you really dive into a topic. And so I was always reading. And there was so much to read because especially in the world of art, and I had studied art history, so it was just a fun opportunity for me to read. But I was also trying to raise money. I was writing grants. That's what I was doing. I was mainly writing grants and grant proposals. But the philanthropy world was also impacted by COVID. And there were quite a number of funding agencies that shut down with COVID and never really recovered.
And how did you come across Meryl and her job title? How did this hit your radar?
There was a museum-wide career retrospective of her work at the Queens Museum in New York in 2016 and 2017. And friends kept telling me that I had to see this show. And I went finally on the very last day of the exhibit. And Meryl was actually there because it was the last day. And I was really just, I must have spent a couple of hours going. I mean, it was a very large exhibit, and it was so filmic. It had such scope. It had such not only depth but breadth, and I was so taken with the imaginative leap of maintenance art and the implications of that, and the scale and ambition of Muriel's projects, and I was so moved. More than anything, I was moved that she focused on a segment of society that we all depend on, and that we are really under-recognized and underappreciated.
There were some very powerful moments. One of the things was she always wanted to shake someone's hand, which was part of how this started, along with her manifesto. Do you find yourself and others starting to shake hands again?
Well, that's interesting. I think hands are actually a motif in the film. I don't know if you noticed that, but there are gloves. She did a project with discarded and used work gloves. There's a moment when she puts her hand on her husband Jack's hand, and he's wearing a gardening glove. There's the glove at the end of the film. There's the glove that protects us from contamination. And I think what was very powerful is that when Muriel shook hands with sanitation workers, who we associate with dirt, with grime, with germs, with, she made sure that she was shaking their hand, not a gloved hand. She didn't put a glove on her hand, and there was no glove on their hand. So that was definitely important to her, and I think that what she wanted to do more than anything was to connect with them, to shake their hand, look them in the eye, and say, I see you, I see the work that you do, and I am grateful to you.
And there was a scene in this piece, and I'm so glad you kept it in there from her documentations. Several of these men that were working sanitation at the time were Vietnam vets. And there was one man who made a comment about, I'm invisible like the maid. How did that hit you as a woman in today's 2025 society?
Well, I think any woman will recognize that feeling, right? You do the work. It's as if... And I'm just thinking of a cartoon that I saw where this guy says, this woman is just the wife is overwhelmed because she has so much to do, and she's about to do laundry, and he said, no, just put it in the basket there. You know, that's what I do. I just throw my stuff in the basket, and then it like ends up clean and in my drawer. And as if by some miracle, that's how clothes are washed. It's through some deus ex machina, you know, that there isn't an actual person who checks the laundry basket and says, well, I've got to throw it in the wash and take care of it. So I think any woman or anyone who lives in a household that takes on the burden of house care and home care can identify with that. It's as if, you know, we're completely taken for granted. And I don't think you have to be a woman in 2025 or 1895. I mean, I think it's, or in America or anywhere. It's a universal kind of experience.
And with your love of making documentaries, how did you get into that? How did you decide on you wanted to be that storyteller?
That's a good question. I don't think I ever set out to be a storyteller. I actually think, and I never thought of myself as a storyteller. At this point, I have to actually invoke my mom, who I think really knew how to tell a story. Not educated. My parents were refugees and immigrants and, you know, had fifth grade educations. But my mother could grip a group when she told a story. But for me, I think I'm the one who's interested in the story. I'm always, and then the notion that I can then convey that story through the medium of film, which to me is not just a visual medium, but it's a psychological medium. You can really like dig deep beneath, and you know, if the camera's on somebody's face, and by not saying something, they're conveying something, or with one word, or with a gesture, with a pause, they're saying so much. And I think that's why, for me, film is a very effective medium. It's conveying someone else's story. These are not my stories. They're somebody else's stories. And I think that's what appeals to me. So I don't think of myself as a storyteller, because they're really not my stories. I'm conveying information. And wow, isn't this interesting?
And what is in your wheelhouse of research you want to do, or others' stories you want to share? What's in your future?
Well, you know, I'm not really focused on stories that are coming up. You know, every once in a while something will come along and I'll say, oh, well, first of all, every time you make a film, you go, this is the last time. I am never doing this again. I mean, unless you're a glutton for punishment. So this film took 8 years, and I'm not sure I've got another one in me. But and I keep saying that. But then suddenly, you know, you'll hear something, or you hear a story, and you go, oh, whoa, that would make an interesting film. And then you catch yourself saying, don't go there. Like, don't do this again.
And you do like to read. I actually found that you're on the Jewish Review of Books. I found your links there and the Jewish Literacy Foundation.
Oh.
So would you please tell us what's on your Kindle or on your nightstand? What are you reading now?
I'm actually reading a book by Emile Zola because I'm like sort of a freak of 19th century literature and old classics. So it's actually a book about the first department store in Paris in the 19th century, and how that appealed to women to go to one place where they can buy everything they need, how that kind of burbled up and became a thing.
And with being accepted into Bentonville Film Festival, what was that moment like when you got that email?
Oh, I was thrilled. And Bentonville does such good work. And, as a New Yorker, as somebody who's really spent my life on the coast, it is such a gift and an opportunity for me to be out here in the heartland of America, not to use a cliche, but to sort of get off of my perch and I had a tour of Crystal Bridges Museum this morning, which has Mural's work in their collection. And I was so moved. I was so blown away by the choices that Alice Walton made to put in that museum, and it's just a world-class museum. It's fabulous. So it's been great. I only came in last night, so I'm kind of just catching up today, but it's been terrific so far.
Well, for those at home and watching this that would like to follow you and follow the progress, what are the best ways to do that?
So I'm kind of social media phobic. I'm not on social media, but the film is at Maintenance Artist. Well, we have a website, www.maintenanceartist.com, and we're on Instagram. We have, and don't ask me to give you all these hashtag things because I don't know anything about it. I really can't. I couldn't repeat it if I tried. But we're out there. We hired someone to do all that. So that's the best way to stay up on what's happening with the film.
Well, thank you, and thank you for your time today, and I hope you enjoy your trip, and may many people get the privilege of seeing your film.
Thank you so much.